Illegal immigrants in South Africa can only be dealt with when we get rid of the current government. South African government benefits from the influx of the illegal immigrants who later applies for refugee status. If you want to know how much they received in 2025, you know what to do. Stick around. Dumela Kazi, welcome back to the cafe. If you are new here, welcome, and if you are returning, thank you so much for gracing us with your presence. If you hear any funny noise, it's because my neighbor is actually having people who are working over there. They are actually installing pavement. Do you call it installing or making whatever? They are doing a new pavement and all of those things, so it can get a bit loud. So please do forgive me for that. Without wasting any more time, let's quickly get into this video. So, Kazi, just to give you a backstory with regards to this whole thing. So, South Africa was asked to take the refugees into South Africa and build refugee camps, obviously by the UN. And South Africa said, no, we don't mind having the refugees in South Africa, but because we are known for the UBUNTU, we are known for welcoming, we are a very friendly country, and we fight for everybody's rights and all of those things, and we'll make sure that we take care of these refugees in the country. But what we're going to do as South African government, we're going to integrate these refugees into our communities, because that's where they belong. They don't belong in some sort of refugee camps, because obviously during apartheid and colonialism and all of those things, people had to be in these concentrated refugee camps, and that we don't believe in as a country that fears to implicate themselves in some sort of a scandal of mistreating other people from other countries. So please bring the people into the country as refugees. And obviously the UN had some sort of money to give to South Africa, obviously, to build these refugee camps, to make sure that the people are getting each and everything that they need, especially essential stuff, to live a dignified life within those refugee camps. South Africa said, no, we are taking them to integrate them into our communities, but we will take the money from you, the UN, because obviously we need to integrate that money into our pockets, not integrate it into these people that are refugees. So in most cases, as I said, South Africa is benefiting. So there will never be a day whereby South Africa says no to illegal immigrants. These illegal immigrants come into the country and they apply for a refugee status. That's what South Africa wants, because the more immigrants coming into the country, the more money they are getting from the United Nations or the UN, right? That's what's this story about. And I want to give you an amount that South Africa is actually getting from this organization. South Africa is getting a lot of money. Put it out there. Take it off your mind. South Africa will never deal with refugees or illegal immigrants in the country, because obviously this is where their own money comes from. This is where the money that they integrate in their pockets, a lot of it comes from. So the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugee, we know it as the UNHCR or something like that, but the UN, we'll just say the UN for the sake of not confusing these alphabets and all of those, paid South Africa for refugees in 2025 alone $28.4 million. That is equivalent to 447.15 million rands. That is the amount that they got in 2025. They yet to get another amount for 2026. So imagine a South African government saying no to that amount of money. Just imagine. There is no way in hell that the South African government that we have right now will refuse that amount. And I don't see that amount going anywhere. That amount doesn't go anywhere. A lot of the real refugees in South Africa, they are struggling. They are making money. They are having their own houses or maybe shacks or whatever, but they are struggling. Some of them, they are struggling, and the government is not doing anything for them. They are not doing anything for them. Yes, we would say that they prioritize them and all of those. They really don't prioritize them. They just make sure that their PR looks good in the eyes of the UN, which I always say the UN is the ruler of this country. The UN is the one that pulls the strings in this country, not the other way around. Not the other. They know, they studied our government for years and years and years. They know that this government will take people day and night. There is no way that they're going to refuse taking people, because obviously the bone is out there. They just throw the bone and South African government goes and chase that bone. So just pop it out in your mind that South Africa will deal with this whole thing. South African government is not going to deal with it. They are not going to deal with it. That's why I'm saying the ANC must get off that high horse. Remove the ANC from power, because that's where the problem is. If the ANC and their own coons can be removed, then maybe we will see change. But even though you're removing them, you don't put someone else that looks like the ANC, especially the parties like the EFF, the DA, all these nitty-gritty parties that are just out there doing nothing. Just don't even think about them. We all know that they are for this whole thing, because they know that this is where the real money comes from, because this money might not be questioned that much. Yes, it might have, they might have some sort of questioning, what do they do with the money, but it might not have too many implications or too many hurdles for them to use it. So it goes straight to where they want it. It will go straight where they want it. South Africa is a sovereign country, so there will never be someone coming from wherever trying to get into their books or auditing their books. They will always have something to produce as well, because they know how to cover themselves in order for them to get this money. That's why I'm saying their PR plays a big role in this whole thing. So when a South African says that the illegal immigrants are doing this, are doing that, and then they protest, and Cyril Ramaphosa says this.
Well, we've been hearing that, and I just want to make it very clear to anyone who is threatening any form of unrest, they will be followed up and they will be arrested. Those are people who belong in jail. Those are people who are the enemies of our democracy. The people of South Africa value this hard-won democracy, and they don't want any form of instability. And we've always followed the rule of law. When you are dissatisfied with any decision, be it a government decision, the president's decision, a minister's decision, even a court's decision, there are ways in which all those complaints can be followed up. So for anyone to say that if this does not happen, they are going to have instability, it's against the will of the people of South Africa. And I can promise you, those people will be followed up. We will arrest them. And they do not belong as part of the South African community that wants stability. That is going to happen.
Stop pretending that South Africa is still a country governed by the rule of law. We're a country governed by the rule of the man. That man is Cyril Ramaphosa. Look at the Phala matter. We are now in January 2026. 14 months. That is how long the Constitutional Court has set on a judgment that determines whether the President of this Republic has violated the Constitution. With no end in sight, 14 months of silence from the highest court in the land on a matter of the highest national agency. Why? I guarantee you, It's not because the judges have not made up their minds. It's simply the president hasn't given them permission to release it. But the capture did not start with a delay. It started with a reward. Do we remember the SR-17 campaign funding scandal, when the public protector found that the president had deliberately misled Parliament about the sources of his ANC campaign funding? When she found prima facie evidence of money laundering in those hundreds of millions of rands, who was the judge who stepped in to overrule that report in the High Court? Judge Dustin Lamb. And what happened next? In a country full of brilliant legal minds, who did Cyril Ramaphosa choose to elevate to Deputy Chief Justice straight from the High Court? The very same Dustin Lamb. It is a perfect clinical circle of patronage. You rule in my favor when my presidency is on the line, and I will hand you the keys to the judicial kingdom. It's not appointment, it's a quid pro quo when the man who is before the courts is the same man who promotes the judges. The scale of justice isn't balanced, it's weighted. It's weighted in favor of whoever holds executive office.
It's because he knows that if shit hits the fan, then that money falls away. They are not getting that money. So we have a white paper right now that will be looking into this whole thing of immigration, which some of the things that are there, I just don't agree with them. But that white paper is just to buy time. It is to buy time. I wouldn't be surprised when it's supposed to be signed. It will drag for another 20 years or something like that. If we are still under this current government, if we're still under the ANC, there is no way that the illegal immigrants are dealt with in this country. So a lot of them come into this country illegally, which is going to be fine for the ANC and their coons, because obviously when they get here, they're going to apply for refugee status. And I bet you, with all my heart, a lot of them, they do get this refugee status. They do get it because that's where the money is. South African government gets that money from them. So South African government is kind of enabling human trafficking, because a lot of them, or some of them that we've seen in recent years, have been trafficked into the country. They did not come because they were willing to come. They came because of their circumstances. Imagine someone coming from Somalia. How many countries they passed through to come into South Africa? How many countries? There's a lot of countries that they would have just said, okay, we're staying here. But they knew that they're coming into South Africa, and that's what they were promised, that they're coming into South Africa inside a container, a shipping container. And that is fine for them, because when they get here, they will do whatever they like. That is South Africa. Anyone does everything they like, and they like until a South African does the same. And that's when you will see the consequences. That's when things like opening cases for much and much happens. So in your head, when you say that they're prioritizing illegal immigrants in South Africa, or immigrants more than South Africans, it's not like that, I think. It's not like that. Yes, they would prioritize their illegal immigrants because that's where the money is. That's where they get the money from the UN. But the real thing that they are targeting is the money. Because if you would ask anyone, what do they do with the money? If you knew the conditions that refugees lived in Maitland, here in Cape Town, then you would know that that money is not doing anything there. They just maybe take 10% of it and give it there, and the rest is theirs. That's why they've got big houses, big cars, big everything, nice holidays in very expensive countries, good bank account in Switzerland, good medical aid, and all of those things. And you, the EFF coons, have a nerve to go to social media and spew nonsense about March and March and Operation Dudula, knowing exactly what is going on behind your back. In fact, not even behind your back, right in front of you, because you are unable to think for yourselves. You are unable to combine one with one. You are unable to combine the positive and the negative. You are unable to prioritize South African. You are unable to do that because you have some sort of a stupid agenda of uniting Africa. Africa will never unite. I mean, you cannot even unite with your own cousins, with your own family, and you think that the whole continent, actually one of the biggest continent, if not the biggest by land, you think that they will unite and the unity that you want must happen in South Africa. Nah, man. Nah. Anyway, thank you so much for watching till this far. Please do me a favor, subscribe, make sure you like this video. I'll see you on my next upload. Have a actually, I just want to say something. Guys, thank you so much for the actual response on my very fruitful video that I did about Lesotho, and as a segment that I've introduced recently. I love our chats. We're not going to agree with the same thing or whatever, saying the same thing all the time, but I love the fruitfulness of the comments on that video. And don't forget that another fruitful video will come on Friday as always. But anyway, have a fantastic one. Peace, Kazi.